What is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a build walkthrough for all the roles, give you the best items, what you need to be building, what you should have in your build, all the good stuff for every role. It'll be, I don't know, not too in-depth, but enough that you guys get some good information out of this video. Starting with junglers, the builds look pretty normal. The only thing is Archdruids is in a really strong spot for a lot of the all-in junglers. Now, there's two different type of builds. There's Boombas, Hammers builds, Protectors builds. Boombas, if you can weave auto attacks into your abilities, it's a lot better. Gods like Pele, who can't really weave autos, like the ult doesn't proc auto effects. Protector feels a little bit better. I've been seeing a lot of Jotuns in jungle. Archdruids second or third a lot of the times. Brawlers in most games because you need anti-heal. And then Titan's Bane is near every game as long as you're not playing a tank jungler. Comes down to these last two items. Heartseeker's a little bit better for killing tanks, and Bloodforge is a little bit better for 1v5ing, trying to kill the enemy backliner. Now, if you're playing a full damage-esque god like a Cleo, you're not going to want Archdruids. You're not going to be able to proc it well at all. Instead, you're just going to be going basically the exact same build, except skipping out on the Archdruids for the Heartseeker and the Bloodforge. Crusher's not in a great spot right now, so a lot of the times you're not opting for Crusher. Some gods can maybe still use it well, but for the most part, it's going to be a combo of these five out of these 6 items, and then whichever starter you'd prefer. Next up, solo lane, which is, you know, a little bit easier to tell what you want to be building. As you can tell from all the tweets, there's a lot of good hybrid items that allow you to do damage. All the starters are actually in a really good spot for solo lane. Tainted if you need a little bit of extra anti-heal. Bluestone if you're very, very good with your base abilities. You have a lot of base abilities that you can proc the Bluestone Brooch with. Warrior's Axe is just always going to be a viable option. It's really good for tank junglers that are looking to poke and trade. And then Warding Sigil if you want to just be an uber tank and be impossible to be shut down. Problem is its early game is pretty weak. And then it comes down to, are you playing against a physical solo laner? If you are, Contagion or Glad Shield, depending on if you want the little bit of cooldown and ability damage from Glads, or the anti-heal and damage off CC with Contagion. If you're playing against a magical god, a lot of people like to opt for Manticore Spikes tier 1, and then quickly upgrade this to Manticore tier 2 for the magical protections. And then it also gives you some physical protections and damage when you finish it. A combo of these 5 out of these 6 items is always going to feel very, very good. Spectral if they have crit. If you have a lot of CC, Stone of Binding is very, very strong. If they have a lot of magical damage, Onis can be very nice. A lot of CC, Spirit's Robe. If you have a way to auto attack and weave autos in your kit, Archers is really good. And then Glorious Pridwin. Basically, if you're just not playing Nike, Glorious Pridwin feels very, very good. Next up, support. We've done this one before, but we're going to touch on it again just so if you guys didn't see the other video. Sentinels, Benevolence, Warflag, and then Lonos Mask. All 4 of the options are very viable. Sentinels, if you're playing around your backline and you want that aura for them and you're not going to be, or you still need to be a little bit tankier. Compassion if they have a lot of magic damage, and you want to play with your backline. Heroism if they have kind of 1 CC they're relying on. Warflag is almost always going to be strong in laning phase. It also scales into War Banner, which does a lot of auto attack, movement speed. Basically, if you're trying to run down the enemy team. And then Lonos Mask, if you yourself want to be kind of just like a 1v5 machine, or you're playing to just play uber late game mask cloak build and just get a bunch of mitigations. I think that build is a little worse because it's just so weak early, but it can still be really strong 6 items, and it's fun. Thieves, almost always going to be your best option. Sov is another very good option because of all the physical gods being played. Pridwin, the cooldown, and then honestly, the Reverent Pridwin in support if you're not playing to dive. I've seen Lasses build this a lot. Shout out Lasses on his Twitch. He streams a lot. He's a good support player. He's not like uber top tier, but he's very entertaining. He has this build where he goes Thebes, Cloak, and Pridwin, which puts you at 30% cooldown, a lot of health, a lot of protections of each. The problem is the early portion of the game doesn't feel too great. But I took from it that Reverent Pridwin is actually a very good item if you have good protections, because it gives you just such a big shield off your ult. It's just that extra layer of survivability that some supports need. Relic Dagger, relying on either your Blink or a Sunder or something like that, feels very good. Both the upgrades are viable options too. Bewitched if they have a lot of attack speed. The other one, I don't remember the name of it, Eldritch. Eldritch is good if you're just using Sunder, so you can pop it a lot more often. Spirit's Robe if they're looking to kill you and just you. Binding if you have a lot of CC, so you can shred some of their protections. Manticore if you're looking to dive the enemy and just be a solo laner, basically. And then Heartward if they have a lot of magical damage gods. Next up, mid. Mids have both Conduit and Sands of Time. I think I've been seeing a lot more Sands into alternate timeline recently. Mages, if you didn't know, got a big beatdown with patch 10.6 where their magical damage is a lot lower than it used to be. A lot of it comes down to just survivability so you can get more damage off. And now there's this big blue build where you're basically just playing for late game. Like I was saying, alternate timeline, or Sands into alternate timeline feels probably the best. Karen's Coin, Spirit Deso, E-Staff, Reaver, Obshard. You're almost always going to be wanting Obshard, E-Staff, Reaver in every build. And then coin is just a really good first item. You're kind of deciding between either Staff of Mirrodin or Spear of Desolation for your last item. I think both are very, very strong. Mirrodin, if you're able to just blow somebody up off your ult, kind of rare. And then Deso if you want those cooldown resets off of a kill. And then lastly, the Hunter build. Very simple. One thing, you're almost always going to be having Exi, Kins, Odibo, and Dom. These 4 builds are nearly core in every build. What changes up is, do you need a little bit more attack speed? Aussie is a bit better than Devs. If you don't need that, Devs is better than Aussie. And then a lot of the times you're just going to be selling your Des Toll for Titan's Bane. So a lot of the times your build is just going to be these 3 items and then these 3 items. I do think Death Embrace has a place if you're getting uber dove and you need a little bit more survivability. I think double lifesteal with Death Embrace and then Devs or Death Embrace and Aussie is very strong. A build that I've been liking a lot is Death Embrace, especially on her. Death Embrace, Aussie into Exi, Kins, Odibo, Dom. So you have a lot of lifesteal for survivability, you have a lot of damage output, and you have a lot of tank killing potential. You can also tank objectives, which is really nice, because you want to be able to tank objectives in ranked, because your teams aren't going to hit them, so you have to hit them sometimes, unfortunately. That's the build I've been rocking. I've been liking it a lot. This is supposed to be like a little bit of a shorter guide for you guys, so if you guys have any questions, ask away in the comments below. This is just kind of update you guys on 10.6, what are the current builds. A lot of these are pro builds or pro inspired builds. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys again next time. Peace.